Hello, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to our webinar today, held exclusively for Danone suppliers. We have with us from the Danone team, Amandeep Batra, who's the Senior Manager, SQM and 3PM Lead for India. We also have from LRQA, Sujit Nair, who's the Assessment Manager for Food Safety Services in the APAC region. Welcome both of you to the webinar today and thank you everyone who joined us. Look forward to a very fruitful discussion. I'll quickly go through the flow of the webinar and then, yes, thank you. Thank you, Sujit. Firstly, we'll share the recording of the webinar because we do get a lot of questions during the webinar that if the recording will be shared. So yes, the recording of the webinar will be shared with whoever who had registered within a week. Second, whatever questions you have during the webinar, please keep sending us on chat, and Sujit and Amandeep will be able to answer them at the end during the question answer round. And lastly, there's a short survey after the webinar. Please fill in so that we are able to bring more such fruitful and collaborative webinars for you in the future. Amandeep, quick introduction, if you could speak for a minute and then we can move to Sujit.
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone on the call. Thanks for attending this, first call of this type for all the raw material, packaging material, as well as our third-party business partner. And we feel this opportunity, will help all of us to upgrade our understanding, particularly from one of the food safety expert I know personally, Sujit, who been the subject matter expert from LRQA. He will help us to understand the GFSI in particular, and then the FSSC 22000 version 6 requirement, which are very important to understand to ensure the roadmap and the timeline for FSSC 22000 are met. So definitely this will we will ongoing basis also we'll have this mutual discussion and partnership so that we move ahead in a food safety journey. So that's from my side. Whatever the query please send us on chat box if we are able to respond now. Otherwise we'll come back to team later. We have also Vikas Raghuvanshi in this call, so who is leading the supplier quality for raw material and packaging vendors. So you can send our queries to me, Vikas, or in this chat box so that we will try to respond. Yeah, over to Sujit to take us forward.
Thank you, Amandeep. Thank you so much. And again, welcome to the webinar and thank you for the opportunity so that LRQA can connect with Danone suppliers. Over to you, Sujit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you, Amandeep and Vikas, for this opportunity of conducting a webinar for the suppliers of Danone. And it's almost a year that we have started our partnership with Danone, and we look forward for a great partnership with Danone globally. And as a part of that, we have started this knowledge sharing session. And this is the first such session that we are doing it for our India operations. So first of all, welcome to this webinar. So most of you would know LRQA, but to give you a brief about LRQA have been specialists throughout the food chain. We work in the animal feeds, agriculture, seafood, food manufacturing, food hospitality, catering, and retail sector. And we do a lot of services in this sector. We do ethical audits, we do sustainability assessments, we do animal welfare audits, we do food safety audits, we do traceability audit, we do health and safety and brand compliance audit for different suppliers and clients across the globe. If you look at LRQA has been in existence since 1985, but we have a legacy of more than 250 years, and we have been a leader in providing professional independent auditing services across the globe. Now we are spread across the globe, and with our new owners, Goldman Sachs, we have the wherewithal to grow and expand this business across the food sector. If you look at the food sector credentials, we have the expertise, experience, and credentials to ensure that we are able to manage the supplier risk that you are facing, and we can support you in your journey of FSSC accreditation. If you look at, we have 30+ years in the food sector experience, 500+ food specialists. We have more than 60 food standards and scopes. We are one of the top 5 providers of GFSI programs. We operate in 160 years, and the average time the clients spend with us is more than 18 years. We have some key accounts who have been with us more than 18+ years, and we are leader in beverages, confectionery, and convenience food. Now, let's start off with the requirements related to GFSI. What is GFSI and how GFSI is supporting food industries to achieve the requirements related to. So this is a program which was established by CGF, the Consumer Goods Federation, and it has the primary focus to oversee food safety standards and to ensure that the people have access to safe food everywhere. There is a benchmarking scheme which is adopted by different scheme holders, and this benchmarking process follows the GFSI guidance documents. And there are many food safety schemes which are benchmarked by GFSI and recognized across the globe. So primarily, GFSI is an association of the top retailers, manufacturers, and service providers across the globe. And it's a coalition or collaborative program wherein it helps the scheme developers to meet common benchmarking requirements and be accredited to those benchmarking recognized. So what does they do? So they aim to improve food safety and business efficiency. They do benchmarking and harmonization of GFSI recognized certification programs. So at the end of it, the motto is that once you are certified, you are recognized everywhere. So once you are certified to a GFSI recognized scheme, those certifications should be acceptable globally, and this reduces inefficiencies from duplication of audits and also helps reduce the trade barriers. This benchmarking process is widely recognized in the food industry globally, and most of the global food manufacturers like Danone, Nestle, all of them support the GFSI benchmarking process, and they promote that most of their stakeholders comply to the requirements of GFSI recognized schemes. Now, there are many GFSI benchmark schemes globally. We would be talking about those schemes which are applicable to food manufacturing or food packaging industries. So we will be talking about specific 4 schemes, which is FSSC 22000, BRC, IFS, and SQF. Okay, but there are many more. Some of them are agricultural practices, or some are limited to certain sectors. But FSSC 22000 is applicable to many food sector categories, and this also is applicable to food packaging manufacturers, raw material manufacturers, ingredient manufacturers, additive manufacturers. All of it is applicable for FSSC 22000. So we look at each of these schemes. Before that, like, how do you select which scheme to pick? Normally, if you are a food processor or a manufacturer in India, the most common scheme that you should get is FSSC 22000 or a BRCGS audit. If you are a food packaging manufacturer, also FSSC 22000 or BRCGS packaging is the most applicable scheme. But in case you need more information, we have Sriraj, who is on the call, and you can always discuss, and he can help you with choosing the right scheme for your industry, for your sector. and this consultation can go on to understand which is the best scheme for you. Now, FSSC 22000 is actually a management system certification, and it's one of the fastest growing food safety schemes across the globe, and which is a GFSI recognized scheme. It follows a 3-year certification process, stage 1, stage 2, surveillance, and certificate renewal. Non-conformities are categorized into 3: major, minor, critical, and there are no scoring system. There is only a certification at the end of the audit, and this can be applied to different industries. This can be applied to food manufacturing, this can be applied to transport and storage, this can be applied to catering, it can be applied to biochemical manufacturing. So a wide scope. There is an FSSC database wherein each certified organization is listed, and the auditor qualification process is done by the certification bodies, and the audit reports as well as the certificate is available on the FSSC portal. So this is how the FSSC 22000 scheme is applying to food industries. This scheme is one of the most popular schemes in India, and you can see that most of the global food manufacturing companies promote FSSC 22000 as the scheme to be certified. The second scheme is BRCGS. BRCGS is focused on product safety and quality. There is an annual audit. So FSSC 22000 is required to have 3 yearly certification, recertification. But for BRCGS, every year is a recertification audit. The requirements are more prescriptive. There is a scoring system for BRCGS audits. All audits are entered to the directory, and there is a public directory which provides the information on the certificate, on the client who are certified. Auditor qualification is done by BRCGS by updating the profile on the BRCGS portal. Then IFS. IFS is less popular in India. This is a scheme which is more popular in Germany, France. It is similar to BRCGS, but much more stringent requirements, and there is a scoring system, and there are annual audits, and certification bodies needs to be accredited, and there is a strict auditor qualification process. There are very few clients who are certified to IFS standards in India. And the last one is SQF 2000, which is focused on food safety, customer and regulatory requirements. There is an optional quality module. This also is annual audits, and non-conformities rating are minor, major, critical. Audit outcome is based on scoring: excellent, good, complies, and fails. So FSSC is the only standard which does not have a grading system or a rating system. All other schemes have a grading or a rating system. And the audit report is in an external database managed by SQF, and they need to be 17065 accredited, and auditor qualification process is managed by a third party, which is Exemplar Global. And once recognized by Exemplar Global, the auditor can work with any certification body providing SQF audits. SQF audit is more popular in Australia and US, but less popular in India. So these are the 4 different schemes and the GFSI schemes. But in case you need more information about different schemes and what is the most applicable scheme for you, you can always discuss with our Sriraj, who is the sales manager and handling the Danone account. So he would be able to help you more on this. Now let's look at FSSC version 22000 version 6, which is the new version of FSSC which has come across. Version 5.1 was the current version, and the version 6 would be applicable for all food manufacturing companies or all certified companies from 1st April 2024. So we quickly look at what are the key requirements and what are the changes in the new version. So first of all, why there was a change in the version? So ISO 22003 is the is the standard used by certification bodies in conducting audits for food companies. And this standard was revised in the year 2022, and FSSC 22000 scheme has been revised to align to the 22003 requirements. There are audit time duration changes, there are changes in the food sector categories. So all of these changes needs to be incorporated into the new scheme, and that is why one of the reasons that this was revised. Also, FSSC wanted food manufacturing companies to comply to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and that is why they included some requirements related to food loss and waste into the scheme requirements. Also, FSSC got certain feedback during the surveys they carried out, and based on the surveys and stakeholder feedback, they wanted to improve the system. And the board of stakeholders and as well as the other stakeholders feedback to improve the requirements of FSSC scheme has been incorporated, and the scheme has been revised as a part of the continual improvement effort by FSSC. So this is the primary reason why the scheme was updated. Now, what are the key benefits of the scheme? There is a new requirement for food loss and waste requirements, which helps an organization to meet the sustainability goals. So FSSC 22000 version schemes version 6 requires you to implement food loss and waste requirements. It also requires you to implement quality control parameters. Till now, FSSC 22000 only had requirements related to food safety, and quality control requirements was not a part of the scheme requirement. Now, with the new update, they also want you to update on the quality control requirements, establish a food safety policy along with quality policy, establish food safety objectives along with quality objectives, and establish quality parameters for end product. So some of those quality control requirements has been incorporated into the version 6 requirement. There is also a focus on food safety and quality culture. So it's a new requirement which has been added. Version 5.1 had certain elements of food safety culture, but it was linked to the ISO 22000 requirement. Now they have added it as a new additional requirement, and food safety and quality culture has been incorporated. So there has to be a food safety culture plan, and the organization needs to implement the food safety and quality culture within the organization. There is also new measures in place to ensure the certificate authenticity to prevent the fraud in certification. They have added a QR code onto the FSSC version 6 certification, and this will ensure direct verification of the authenticity of the certificate which is issued. The scope of FSSC scheme has been extended to include F2 and B3. F2 is basically retail and wholesale, including trading, and B3 is the pre-processing of vegetable products, which has been added into the scope of FSSC scheme. There is additional support in scheme detail and guidance documents. So for each additional requirement, there is certain guidance documents which has been published, as well as the scheme detail has been updated to provide you more information about those requirements. Now, talking about the specific changes in the scope of FSSC 22000. The categories, scope categories were realigned as per ISO 22003 part 1. So there is a new category C0. Earlier there were C1 to C4. So they have added one more subcategory, which is C0, which is primary conversion. So this includes slaughter of animals and primary processing of animals. So that is a new category. There is a new category which is B3, which has been added into the scope, which is pre-process of plant products. So when there is no, when the fruits and vegetables are whole and only there is a packing or sorting operation which is happening. Normally, you would see the pack houses of different fruits and vegetables. So this comes under the category B3. And when there is a processing of plant products, it comes under category C2. So they have divided C2 into two parts: B3, which is the pre-process of plant products, and C2, which is the processing of plant products. Pet foods were under category D2 and D2B, which has been moved to category C. So pet foods now come under food manufacturing, and there is no separate category for pet foods in the FSSC scheme. There is some scope changes. Trading and brokering has been added into the scheme. Category A, farming of animals, has been removed from the scope, and FSSC 22,000 quality also has been removed from the scope of FSSC scheme. Earlier, category G, which is transport and storage, has been consolidated into G1. Earlier it was G1 and G2. It has been now consolidated into one category, which is G. G1 was storage and transport, which is, you know, perishable storage and transport. For example, chilled and frozen storage and transport. And G2 was ambient storage and transport. So now both of them has been combined into one category. Now we look at the additional requirements, FSSC 22,000 additional requirement. So there is a new requirement on food safety and quality culture. So food safety and quality culture requires that as a part of the senior management commitment, there should be a food safety and quality culture established within the organization, which includes communication, training, employee feedback and engagement, and performance measurement related to food safety culture. And there has to be a documented food safety and quality culture plan with targets and timelines. So specific requirement on food safety and quality culture. There is an additional guidance document published by FSSC on this one. As so, there is a past standard which is been established on food safety and quality culture implementation. So when you are going to implement food safety and quality culture, you should refer to this pass, you should refer to the guidance document and then implement those requirements. Then there is a requirement on quality control. As discussed, quality control is a new requirement added into the FSSC 22,000 version 6 additional requirement. So there has to be a quality policy and quality objectives to be established. Quality parameters for finished product specification needs to be established, and there should be a product release procedure which addresses quality control and testing of the finished product. And the internal audit should cover quality elements and your quality control procedures should be established for the weight, volume controls, and there has to be a program for calibration and verification used for quality control equipments. There should be line startup and changeover procedures to be established to ensure that packaging, labeling, and legal requirements are being met, and to ensure that all the packaging labels have been removed from the line from the previous run when you run a new product. So these are some key requirements of quality control and has been added as part of the FSSC version 6 requirement. Then there is a specific requirement on equipment management, hygienic design. So there has to be a documented purchase specification for all equipments, which includes the hygienic design requirements and the intended use of the equipments. And the supplier should provide evidence of meeting the specifications for the hygienic design. Then there has to be a proper installation requirements or when a new equipment is being implemented, there has to be evidence of successful commissioning, meeting the food safety requirements, and proper controls are in place for commissioning of new equipments. So these are the requirements related to equipment management. Coming to food loss and waste, this again is a new requirement added into the scheme. So there has to be documented policy and objectives related to reduction of food loss and waste. Now, what is food loss and waste? So there are two parts of it. Food loss means anything which is food which is lost during the processing till it is within the control of the organization. And food waste is when the food is in the retail, when it is available at the shelf, and it is wasted due to shelf life expiry or damages. That is food waste. So the organization needs to have a system in place to control food loss, as well as a system in place to control food waste. So any food products which is donated to not-for-profit organizations, NGOs, the organization need to ensure that the food is safe to consume. Also, if there is any product which is routed for animal feed or any other use, you need to make sure that there is a control of contamination when you are diverting your byproducts or waste for animal feed or any other use. And all food loss and waste control programs should meet the regulations, and it should not have a negative impact on food safety. So these are the key requirements related to food loss and waste. Then there is a specific requirement related to communication. So in case of an emergency situation or a serious event, the organization is required to communicate to the certification body on the serious event or emergency situations. And this timeline is 3 working days from the commencement of that serious event or a serious situation. This was a requirement earlier, but it was not a part of additional requirement. So now they have added it as a part of additional requirement. Now some new elements have been added to the existing requirement. So now when you talk about management of services and purchase materials, so in case you are a packaging material manufacturer and you are using recycled packaging material, then the recycled packaging material should meet the relevant regulations and should be ensured that there is food safety in place. So it's very important that in case recycled packaging materials are being used, this needs to be complying to the quality, legal, and customer requirements. Then again, control on claims on product labels and packaging. So if there are any claims made on the product label, this claim needs to be validated and periodically verified. So you would see a lot of claims on health claims. You would have claims related to nutritional claims. There is claims related to method of production. There are claims related to chain of custody. There are claims related to allergen status. So all of these claims needs to be validated, and there has to be periodic verification to ensure that the verification is done to ensure that claim is proved. Then there is an artwork management and print control procedure. This is primarily for food packaging manufacturing industries. So there has to be a process in place for approval of artwork. There has to be a process to manage changes to artwork and print specifications. There should be approval of each print run. There should be a process in place to detect and identify printing errors. There should be a process for segregation of different print variants, and there should be a process to account for unused printed products and disposition of unused printed products. So these are the requirements related to artwork management and print control procedures. Food defense and food fraud requirements for suppliers. So if you are a trader or a broker and you go for FSSC certification, you need to make sure that all suppliers who are supplying products to you has food defense and food fraud implemented at their place. And as an organization, you need to provide evidence of compliance to food defense and food fraud of all suppliers. Then requirements related to allergen management. there is additional requirements related to allergen management. One is related to a list of allergens which is present in raw materials and finished product needs to be maintained. There is a requirement that validation and verification of all control measures related to allergen cross contamination is maintained, and the frequency of verification needs to be established. There should be precautionary allergen labeling. So in case may contain label. So in case your product is produced in a facility wherein the other allergens are being managed, your product does not contain allergen, but it is processed in a facility handling other allergen, then this may contain precautionary label is required to be put on onto your product label. And in spite of all the control measures you have implemented, this may contain label, precautionary label is mandatory. All people should get specific training on allergen control measures when they are working, and the review of the allergen management plan should be at least done annually or when there is any changes. So these are the changes in the management of allergens. Coming to environmental monitoring, now they are talking about specific environmental monitoring for pathogens, spoilage organisms, and indicator organisms. Earlier, there was no mention of these three different monitoring programs. Now they say that there has to be a risk-based environment monitoring program for pathogens, for spoilage organisms, and for indicator organisms. And then the allergen management program or the environmental monitoring program needs to be monitored at least annually, and it should be reviewed for effectiveness at least annually, or when when there is a significant changes in the product process or legislation, when there is no positive testing for a long period of time, or when you get out of specification trends of microbiological results, or when there is a repeat detection of pathogens, or when there is alert recalls or similar incidents involving microbiology, then you should review your environmental monitoring program. There are specific requirements related to transport tanker cleaning. So if you are using transport tankers for bulk materials, then there should be a risk-based plan to address transport tanker cleaning. And this transport tanker cleaning should look at what are the cross-contamination risks, including allergen cross-contamination risk. There should be a cleaning validation of the tankers, and there should be a process in place to assess the cleanliness of the tanker at the point of reception before loading the tankers. And when you are receiving raw materials in tankers, there should be the requirement for cleaning of the tanker should be a part of your supplier agreement with the supplier, and there should be validation records available. There should be prior use certification available, and the cleaning records available for transport tankers when you are receiving raw materials in tankers. Now, there is an additional requirement related to hazard control, and therein they have added foreign matter management. So there is a requirement to do a risk assessment to evaluate the need for foreign body detection equipments like magnets, metal detectors, X-ray machines, sieves, and this needs to be put in place, and there has to be a documented procedure for management and use of these equipments for foreign matter management. And there has to be controls in place for breakages of metal, ceramic, hard plastic. Earlier, there was a requirement only for glass breakages. Now, there is a requirement for having procedures for control of breakages of metal, ceramic, and hard plastic as well. Now, coming to product design and development, when you have a shelf, when you develop a product, there is a shelf life declared on the product label. There should be a periodic shelf life, ongoing shelf life verification to be done, and this frequency of shelf life verification should be based on risk. However, there is a requirement to do a periodic shelf life verification of your end product. And if there are ready to cook products, then the instruction of cooking, ready to cook product instruction of cooking should be validated and should be on your and there should be a periodic verification also of the cooking instructions on your label. So these are the key changes. And now we look at the changes, other changes apart from the additional requirement which an organization need to implement. So as discussed, there is a QR code added to the certificate, so it increases the authenticity of the FSSC 22000 certification. The audit duration has been realigned as per ISO 22003 Part 1 requirement. So you would see that the audit time would change from version 6. Audit time based on the additional requirements of FSSC as well as ISO 22003 requirements, the audit time duration has changed. There are some annexes to FSSC scheme which has been adjusted. So now they earlier there used to be having 9 annexes. Now it has been adjusted to 5 annexes. They have updated the ICT requirements when so FSSC scheme allows you to do blended audits. That means partial remote and partial on-site. So what are the ICT information communication and technology requirements related to remote audit has been updated, and the scheme allows to do partial on-site, partial remote audits. Now, if we look at the timeline for FSSC 22000, the scheme was published in 31st March 2023. There was a 12-month transition window. So till 1st of April 2024, organizations were provided time to implement the new requirements. All audits as per version 6 will happen from 1st April 2024 onwards. So till 31st March 2024, the audits would be done as per FSSC 22000 version 5.1, and 1st April 2024 onwards, the audits will happen as per version 6. And if you are certified to version 6, then you have to complete your upgrade audit before 31st March 2025, because after 31st March 2025, the FSSC version 5.1 certificate is no longer valid. This upgrade audit, as per the scheme requirement, can be delivered remotely, can be delivered unannounced. So if your audit is, the next audit due is unannounced, then it will be, the upgrade audit also would be unannounced. You can look at FSSC website for more information on the upgrade process. There is a document published by FSSC on the upgrade process. This is the scheme structure. So the FSSC document has 5 parts: Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, and Part 5. The most important, which is applicable to organizations who are implementing the requirement, is Part 2, which is requirement for organizations to be audited. Then there are 2 appendices, Appendix 1 and Appendix 2. Appendix 1 is definition and Appendix 2 is references. And there are 5 annexes. Annex 1, CB certificate scope and statement. Annex 2 is the report templates. Annex 3 is the certificate template. Annex 4 is the accreditation certificate, and Annex 5 is the requirements for use of information communication and technology. Then there are voluntary addendum and modules. So FSMA addendum, Costco module addendum, ISO 23412 addendum, non-food packaging module, and HAVI GQSR addendum. Then there are many guidance documents: environmental monitoring, food fraud mitigation, food defense, food safety culture, transport tank cleaning. Then there is a YUM high-level overview, which is published by FSSC. So these documents are all available on the FSSC website, and it is available for you to download from the FSSC website, and these are free to download. If you need more support in terms of understanding the requirement, go to the FSSC website. There is a change document which is published, version 5.1 to version 6. There is an upgrade process which is detailed. There are guidance documents which are updated, and you have LRQA to help you with information about the upgrade process. So that is all from my side. I thank you for joining this webinar. Now we can start with the question and answer session.
Thank you, Sujit. Thank you so much for the informative session. Request you all to please start sending your questions on chat. Okay, we have our first question. It says, if I do not have any certification for food safety till date, can I go for GFSI?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yes, if there is no certification till now, you can still go for GFSI recognized certification. You can select a scheme which is most applicable to you, and we can start with a gap audit, gap assessment audit, wherein you understand what is the gap between the requirements from the scheme versus what you have implemented. And once you know what is the gap and how much effort is required to implement those gaps, I think you would get a better idea of when or how soon you can go. Normally, organizations start with basic HACCP certification, then they graduate to ISO 22000, and they move to FSSC certification. So these are stepwise approach. But in case you are sure that you have implemented all the requirements and you are all ready for GFSI recognized certification, then you can directly go for GFSI recognized certification.
Thank you, Sujit. Our next question is, precautionary allergen labeling, is it mandatory? If yes, which clause supports this requirement?
Okay. So yes, precautionary allergen labeling is mandatory, and this is as per 2.5.6 of FSSC scheme requirement. When precautionary, when there, based on the risk assessment, you are able to identify that there is a risk of contamination, and you, in spite of the control measures, there is a requirement that there has to be a precautionary and warning label to be used.
Thank you, Sujit.
Implementing precautionary label does not exempt the organization for implementing the cross-contamination control measures. So in spite of implementing cross-contamination control measures or putting a precautionary label does not leave you that there can be a risk of contamination. So you need to control the contamination risk over and above the precautionary label.
Thank you. Thank you. What is the difference between food loss and food waste?
Yeah, so food loss, as I was discussing, food loss is what is happening within your factory. So losses which is happening due to spillages, process losses, maybe losses due to cleaning. All of these losses which happens within the factory is food loss. Food waste is which is happening in the supply chain. That means when it is, the product is in the market, in the warehouses, in the distribution centers, product due to when it is being expired, or product is spoiled during transportation, improper storage conditions, all of this is considered to be food waste. So the standard requires, food loss is directly controlled by the organization. Food waste is, as an organization, you have to influence to control, to reduce the food waste. So you need to start with the process of monitoring the food loss as well as food waste, and then you need to establish procedures to control and reduce the food loss and waste. So there is a guidance document published by FSSC which gives you details of how to implement these requirements.
Thank you, Sujit. Next question says, does FSSC define the standards for microbiology for food packaging and its converting facility?
Okay, I have not clearly understood the question, but I would try to answer. So FSSC scheme does not define any specifications. So it says that you should meet the regulatory, customer, and the food safety related risk requirements. And basis this, the organization has to establish their own specifications. So there are no specifications defined by FSSC. FSSC says that we should comply with the quality, food safety, regulatory, and customer requirements.
Thank you. Just a sec. Is any company manufacturing their product from a manufacturer who is FSSC certified? Okay, wait. Let me frame it in my mind properly. Is it required to have? Okay, so I believe the question is, if there's a company like Danone who's FSSC certified, is it required that the suppliers also be FSSC certified?
No, so every organization has a supplier management program, so some organization define that one of the requirement for suppliers is to be certified or certified to a GFSI recognized scheme. So it is like I have seen many multinational global food companies has a mandate that their supplier needs to be certified to a GFSI recognized scheme. This is one of the risk management approach adopted by the global food companies, so that they ensure that the suppliers to those companies are meeting a certain minimum requirements which is recognized globally. So as a risk mitigation measures of supplier management, this is something which is implemented, but it's not mandatory. Some organizations have their own supplier management programs on auditing programs to verify the supplier meets the requirement, but it takes a lot of efforts, resources to do audits and follow up with suppliers. So the easiest way is to ensure that the suppliers are certified to GFSI recognized schemes. So this is my answer related to that question.
Yeah, thanks, Sujit. Just to add from Danone perspective, so GFSI with any scheme which we discuss, including FSSC, is a mandatory requirement for all our business partners who supply us raw material and packaging material, and this has also been verified during the site visits. Thank you.
Thank you, Amandeep. Okay. Okay, you spoke about sustainability, inclusion, and standard. Could you please elaborate more?
Yeah, so United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So one of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is defined by United Nations, is about food availability and food security. And so food loss and waste, which is included as an additional requirement, is how the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is being addressed in the FSSC version 6 scheme. So the food loss and waste is what is a part of this. It is nothing related to food safety. It is primarily related to reducing the wastage so that food is available at all places. So that is the reason why this has been added.
Thank you, Sujit. I'm not covering all the questions because some of them are very similar. Okay, under quality control, is NABL requirement? So is NABL a requirement? Under quality control, is NABL a requirement?
There is no requirement that your internal laboratories needs to be accredited to ISO 17025 or NABL accreditation. But the external laboratories in which you are getting your validation, verification, testing being done, it needs to be from ISO 17025 accredited laboratory. That means NABL accredited laboratory. So for all external testing which impacts food safety or quality, you need to ensure that it is being tested by a laboratory which can demonstrate compliance to ISO 17025, and that is a requirement. Now, for the internal laboratory, you don't need to implement 17025 or don't need to get certified to ISO 17025, but still the laboratory operation needs to be demonstrated that you are able to produce, a repeatable and precise test. So that means there should be a proficiency testing program in place. There should be some sort of compliance to good laboratory practices. So that's my answer related to the accreditation to 17025 or enable accreditation.
Thank you, Sujit.
Yeah, Amandeep, you have a requirement that all testing has to be done by enable accredited laboratories, right?
Not really, but it should follow the standard of the thing. Not really the accreditation, but yes, it should follow the IS 17025. But for our factories which we produce BIS products, which infant product, so this is a mandatory requirement for us, not for the raw material or a packaging material business partner. Having said that, we have a third party business partner also in this call for them who are producing infant food for us. So yes, this is a mandatory requirement.
Okay.
Thank you, Amandeep. Thank you. I believe the next question says, okay, so basically they're asking, do we provide trainings for these GFSI standards?
Yes, certainly LRQA is a leader in training programs. We do training programs for FSSC, BRCGS, and other GFSI standards. So you can get in touch with Sriraj, who is on the call today, and he can help you with the information related to training programs that we deliver. So we do a basic HACCP training programs, specific training programs on food safety culture. We do training programs on food defense, food fraud. So we have specific training programs, generic training programs for the schemes. So you can always get in touch with us for that.
Thank you so much, Sujit. There's a question. The gentleman is asking, when do we start classroom training for version 6 lead auditor? I would suggest, Mr. Gupta, please get in touch with Sriraj on the call here, or you can write to us. I'll just put on the chat our email ID.
And also, if Palvi, you can share the phone number of Sriraj to the group in the chat box, that will be helpful.
Of course. Let me do that right away. Or Sriraj, you want to share it yourself?
Hello, everyone. I will definitely contact each one of you who are present on this call. After we complete, next week I can come back to you, have a courtesy call with you to understand and take this discussion further. Thank you.
I've put Sriraj's number here in case somebody wants to get in touch with him directly before he gets in touch with you. So please feel free to say it. Okay, we have time for just one last question. I don't see any extra questions here. Does anybody have a last question? Please put on chat. We'll be more than happy to answer.
Yeah. Otherwise, also you can, if you have more queries after this webinar, also you can send us an email, and we would be happy to help you with your queries.
Of course. Okay, I believe there are no more questions at this point. But yes, you have you have Sriraj's number now. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining the call. Sujit, thank you so much for the informative session. Amandeep, Vikas, thanks for the opportunity. At least we really enjoyed hosting the session. So thank you again for the opportunity, and we hope to do more such sessions with you and the Danone team in the future.
Yeah, thanks. Just a closing remark. I'll not take more than 30 seconds. So thanks
Of course, of
everyone,
course.
business partners, to joining this call. To understand on the requirement and opportunity to interact with our recommended certification and the training partner LRQA in this journey will be really helpful. Basis my past experience and the industry, best practices. Definitely, this will be helpful. So special thanks to Sujit, to support us in this journey, to upgrade this journey for our business partner. And thanks to Shriraj, Pallavi, as well as Vikas from Danone to get it happen. So we'll definitely partner on ongoing journey to move our food safety best practices and journey to next level. Thanks once again.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Amandeep.
Yeah.
Everybody have
So
a great day. Again, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the week ahead. Bye-bye.
thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.